Welcome to Still Evolving, where we explore the truth behind lasting performance and resilience. Rather than relying on perfection or superhuman ability, our conversation will highlight how real strength emerges through simple, intentional habits grounded in self-compassion, adaptability, and the ability to grow through life's inevitable setbacks. Today's guest is Jon Williams. Jon is the CEO of Viridi, a leader in fail-safe battery energy storage systems and a company at the forefront of building a zero-carbon energy future. His leadership and impact were recognized nationally when he was named an EY Entrepreneur of the Year in 2024. What stands out about Jon is the clarity of his mission. Growing up in Niagara Falls, surrounded by the remnants of the industrial decline, shaped his commitment to rebuilding systems that serve both people and the environment. His career reflects that evolution, from environmental remediation to now developing technologies designed to power the future. Please welcome Jon to Still Evolving. Jon, welcome to Still Evolving. Grateful for you to be here and really look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Why don't we start off, Jon, just sharing with our audience a bit of your journey, a bit of your background, where you came from, and what you're up to now.
So I'm 64, right? So I've been in business and in my own businesses and running businesses for other people since I was in my early 20s. So I've been doing this a long time. I think I always kind of gravitated towards thinking I knew how to do something better than the person next to me, which, when you're young comes off as arrogance, and it's hard to manage that because you're young and you're really working with people older than you and they just think you're some kind of a young upstart. And as you get older, it tends to be, give you gravitas. And I think in both instances, it's probably not deserved. There are always ways to do things better. We like to think that we have a better idea, but typically it's not your idea that's better. It's just the motivation to get other people to look at what they're doing and actually recognize, is there a quicker, better, faster way to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I've been doing this a long time. I like it. And, I'm going to keep doing it for a long time if I can.
I love it. I would imagine along the way through your entrepreneurial journey, but also even in your personal life, you've been met with challenge, change, adversity. I'm curious, what have been some of your takeaways, either from leading through challenge yourself or observing others, mentors, colleagues, perhaps even friends, navigate life's punches to the gut, if you will? And really, I'm interested in learning, when that challenge occurs, how you have been able to kind of evolve through it and pursue the opportunity that it may present, rather than just survive it or just kind of get through those tough times.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of great people around me who have been workers and people we've done business with and have done business with us, and just friends, and some religious, some community leaders, some running not-for-profits, and a lot of business people. And I think I wouldn't point to any one of them and say, they were the most significant. Like there was this Yoda kind of showed me the way and exposed the force to me so I could control things. But I think collectively, we all have skills and talents and faults, right? We all have things that we aren't great at. And by having a large group of people and people from different walks of life, especially religious, right? Because most of the religious people I know really don't care about money at all. Like it doesn't mean anything to them, right? And if they can't eat tomorrow, it's not a big concern. They just believe it's gonna work out. And then very high level business people who their only concern is, did I get that extra 100 basis points in the negotiation? And am I gonna get my piece tomorrow? They're all really important, right? I mean, that the world doesn't turn without any one of those pieces. And I think when you get into adversity, you have to kind of balance those things. Like you got to balance, the sun's going to come up tomorrow, right? And, fortunately in this country, I mean, we live in an incredible place. If you go bankrupt, you get to start over. Like you don't go to jail, you don't get whipped, you don't get thrown into the gulag.
Right.
It's uncomfortable, like you're broke, but you get a clean slate and get to start over, right? So, you're still going to have all the skills and all the talents and all the ability you had the day before. You're not going to have the resources, but resources come and go. I mean, money's a fickle thing. It comes at times you don't expect it to, and it goes at times you never thought it would. So I think just not focusing on any kind of singular silo, right? If you're going broke, there's other things in your life that are okay. If you're going through a traumatic experience personally, like you're losing a loved one or something, there are people around you who care about you, right? And they'll help you. And your kids, right? Like you have kids. Kids get sick. They do great things. They do terrible things. So
Yeah.
I think it's really just having people in your life you trust, and
Hmm.
you don't have to like them all. Like there are some of my best business mentors were
Yeah.
terrible people. Like they were terrible people. We'd go to dinner. They would tell me stories, and I'd look at them. I'm like, "You did that?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Wow, that's really bad." They were trying to get one over on me. I'm like, "Yeah, but you didn't have to like bankrupt." But they were
Right. Right.
they were
You
very
don't have to go that direction.
but they were very capable, very smart, very accomplished. So none of it is absolute, right? I mean, none of us know it all. None of us have all the answers. And there's no one walk of life that in and of itself can survive an asylum, right? Even a priest needs
Yes.
somebody that makes money
Yes.
to help them get their food the next day. So focus
Yeah.
on what you do every
Yeah.
day and just, try to listen. You need to make a contribution to whatever you do. Every day when you go out in the world, you should do something that is additive and not subtractive to the community around you. And if you do that, things will get better.
Things will be all right. John, first off, I appreciate the realness in the conversation and highlighting really the formula is dynamic, and it also is one that when we have that psychological flexibility, when we're able to kind of take the perspective, right? But then also kind of fall back on our faith. Like, what are the actions? Let's not get so dialed in to the catastrophic, like you said. What's the worst that could happen here? When we have that flexibility to be able to it's an and game, not an or. I may go bankrupt and I'm going to be okay. I may experience tremendous loss, pain, and there are people who love me, right? Like when we can have some flexibility, it can really help us in those times of challenge and adversity. And then I also really appreciate that openness to, I'm a big proponent. You can learn something from everyone. And like there's been people in my field. I remember younger in my career, I was with some colleagues and we were going to a continuing ed workshop and someone presenting has a healthy dose of ego, right? Like you mentioned, some of it well-deserved, earned, like he's earned his stripes. And then others, it's just kind of a little bit of grandiosity coming out. And it certainly can rub people the wrong way. Like you described, I don't have to like him, but there's something I can learn there, right? And so that openness to learning from people from all corners of in your life is so critical. You mentioned the power that comes from connection. You also mentioned even woven in there the connection to something bigger than yourself. Where have you found through challenge your greatest support? Has it been in your professional world, or does that extend more outside your professional world, that support than just strengthens you in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have a complicated relationship with religion, right? Because like I absolutely believe that we're not it, like that there's something else. But I can
Okay.
never wrap my head around any one religion being the absolute, right? And I was raised Roman Catholic. So according to my faith, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to hell and you're going to live in a fiery damnation. Like I can't square that.
It's hard to wrap your brain around.
It
Yeah.
is. No, I think, obviously the teachings of Christ and the Bible, I mean, just love people, right? And don't judge. It's kind of hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
Most religions come back to a place of, don't cheat, don't steal, forgive your neighbor, and, don't, think you're the end all and be all.
Yeah.
Those are powerful messages. The challenge, though, to not having an organized religion is it's really hard to have something to fall to when you need it. Like if you're not in a faith, you typically don't meet faith leaders and you don't have an individual who's committed to that faith that is a mentor, a friend, or somebody you can, connect. So I've kind of walked that line. Like I have a lot of priests that are friends. I have a lot of preachers that are friends. I have rabbis that are friends. They all get very mad at me because we have these heated debates about their religions. They've been trying to convert me, and I just like, okay, hey guys, I'm not getting there. I love you, tremendous respect for you. I know it's your life's work. I just can't get there. I think, like, and I wouldn't suggest that for everybody. That's not like having
Right.
an organized religion, and we raised our kids religiously is really good. Like with the doctrines and the discipline of a religion gives people kind of guardrails and a way to live. And that's important. Religion does a lot of awful things. You got to acknowledge that, religion is also has done a lot of really terrible things.
Right.
Both can be true. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, Amy. I think it's very interesting that at times when you need somebody, they're typically there and you don't really know why. And at times that you don't, you should be conscious of being there, right? So if things are
Yeah.
going great for you, I think you want to be conscious of, who needs something today? Like who can I help? Listen better, try to be more empathetic because there's somebody who was in your position 6 months ago who might not be reaching out. And
Yeah.
when things are great for us individually, we kind of think everybody's living on cloud nine, right? We figured
Right.
it
They're
out.
riding their own waves, man. They're trying
Yeah,
to get
right.
through.
And
Yeah,
and
totally.
reality is that there's always somebody that, could use a cup of coffee and, a conversation.
Yeah. When our tank is a bit more full, looking back and seeing who might be around us that could benefit, just like you said, that cup of coffee, that reach out, tremendously powerful. I hear an important part of kind of who you are is also just that connection. And also, I hear like lifting and kind of contributing back, like how we are adding to our communities versus consuming. I'm curious, as part of that, whether it's when your tank's full, you're kind of lifting somebody up, you're cooking to give back, and you're also riding your own waves of challenge. At some point, though, as an individual, we kind of have to refuel, right? Because it's a lot. I mean, this is a grind. I admire at 64. I hear you saying, like, as an entrepreneur, you'll probably be back here next year going at the grind. What helps you personally recharge? Where do you find the energy reserves or kind of refueling in the grind?
I think like I like what I do. And you probably find this with, other
Hmm.
professionals in your field. Like this was
Yeah.
my mom, right? My mom's kind of mantra was that she was a school teacher, that she taught the public system. So she would say, there are teachers who have 20 years of experience and there's teachers who have 20 years of experience. Some of those teachers taught for a year and repeated it for 20. They have 1 year of experience.
Mhm.
She goes, other teachers every year went to additional training, redid their classwork, updated how they were teaching their kids, recognized the changes in the student body. Every year they built on lessons learned, but they adapted to the environment they were in. She said, those teachers have 20 years of experience, don't have 1 year of experience, honey.
Yeah.
Every year learn. And I think if you like learning, business is an incredible place to be because every day you
Right.
run into somebody that does something you don't understand, you've never seen before, and it can be as rudimentary as manufacturing a widget, right? Like I stamp out this little part, and this little part goes into this cog, and this cog goes into a wheel, and this wheel goes into a wheelbarrow. Like it can be that simple. But if you're curious about it, it's really cool. Like there's 1,000 little things that go into stamping that part that allows that part to be consistent and delivered and put into something else and built up through a supply chain. And everything in our world is a business, right? I mean, the
Uh-huh.
software you're using is a business. Somebody developed that software, sold it to you. And the AI that you tried to make it sound better, right? That's a business. And the bookshelf that's holding your certificates and your pictures. I mean, there was a group of engineers that designed that. They figured out how to put it together, and then they had to make packaging. Then they said, okay, we got to ship it from Taiwan to California. How's it going to get there? Those things are all interesting in and of themselves. And if you like it, it's fun. Now, it's the same thing in any field, right? I mean, if you like human psychology and why people get up and do stuff, every time you meet somebody, you probably find a little bit different twist. Like, we're all a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have a little bad.
We all have our thing. That's what I tell people. We all, and if you say you don't have a thing, I'll tell you your thing is like. So
You got
go
a lot of
ahead.
things. You think he doubts protest too much.
Yes,
So,
100%.
so it's fun, right? And people say this like, because they say I work a lot, but I don't work a lot. I mean, I work a lot compared to somebody's definition of work, but that's not my definition of work, right? And I know people who golf a lot, right?
Right.
I don't golf at all. You don't golf. I'm like, no, I got no patience for it. Like, I don't really care about hitting the ball in the hole.
It's a long game. If you don't care about it, it's a long day, a
Yeah,
really long
it's a
day.
long day.
That curiosity is, I'm reminded, you mentioned the curiosity of human psychology. So I was a business major in undergrad, and I had one of those, I don't know what I'm doing with my life when I have that business major. And through service, I ended up pursuing graduate training in psychology. And I distinctly remember coming out of like, this was my first year in my grad training, walking across the quad, and some professors were sitting out front on a bench. And I just looked at them and I realized, like, All I know is every class I take, I feel like I'm recognizing how little I know, like how much more I have to learn. And I think when we're curious and you're open and you're like, it's almost like visiting a foreign country, right? Everything there seems new, the language, the culture, the interactions, the food, music. But when we're curious, even in our own daily routine, something place, we may have grown up in the home that we're living in, but and know many people in the community, but when we're curious, it can refuel us, right? And to your point, that's where experience really does come in, is because we're learning. We're always changing. Certainly times are changing. So it can be very fueling.
I mean,
Absolutely.
like Walt Whitman, right? That's one of his famous quotes. I
Yeah.
mean, Ted Lasso used it, right? Be curious,
Yeah.
not judgmental, right? Which is an incredible
It
line.
is.
But even Einstein, like Einstein later in his years, there was an interview he did, and it was, scientific, Gutenberg Scientific Academy. And this interviewer went on for must have been the write up, it looks like 3 pages of just heaping praise on Einstein about how much you know and how you've changed the world and how smart you are. Einstein's response was, I got to tell you, like the more I learn, the less I know. And the guy just looks at him and he's like, no, seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
You
every time
see
I,
all these,
every
like,
time I figure
what's
something
that?
out,
What is this?
I figured out that what I figured out is not even the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
So,
Yes, so true. Powerful reminder, John. I always like wrapping up with our guests being able to share back that immediate and actionable tool, tip, takeaway. What is something that you have found that's helped you sustain this journey that anybody can go out and have that remarkable game, but to be able to do that over the years, over the years, over the years, despite all the adversity or changes or that come with it, even the celebrations, right? It can zap us, but to sustain high performance is also remarkable. So I'm just curious for you as a leader, is there something that you find that you do daily or even weekly that's helped sustain that high performance?
well, I think, part of it's basic. Like, you got to be healthy. Like,
Yeah.
you got to stay in shape. You got to eat reasonably. Your mind and your stamina can only match your physical fitness. And it's really difficult to run and to perform at high levels if you're not taking care of yourself.
Right.
And it's not fun. They call it working out because it's work. It feels like it has no purpose. So I always tell people, say, well, I'm like, listen, no matter how much fun we're having, no matter how great you think this is work. It's not vacation. And the reason they call it work is that it's work. Like, it's maddening and tough and frustrating and all kinds of stuff happens. I think beyond that, you touched on this earlier. You said and not or. Well, I always say can, not can't, right? So don't tell me what you can't do. Tell me what you can do. And when you're trying to get through something that's either very difficult or unexpected or traumatic, look to that. What
Uh-huh.
can I do today? Okay. If what I can do is literally just get out of bed and go for a walk, do that. And all the other stuff you can't do, it's okay. Like, you don't need to dwell on it, because if you can't do it, you can't do it. Do what you can. And when you're looking at a business problem, if you bring the people around you into that and you say to them, what can we do? Right? And they're like, well, you can't. Stop. I don't want to hear can't. If,
Uh-huh.
literally, if you can empty that trash can, that's a can.
Right.
You can
Right.
do that. Okay. So go empty the trash can and sweep up around the can. That's something you just did, right? Can we call this vendor? Can we call this customer? Can we call this regulator and talk to them? Like, what can you do? Because
Right.
you'll never fix it by worrying about what you can't do or by what's already happened. You can only fix it by looking at what you can do. And if you just,
Absolutely.
like eating an elephant, right? That's that line, right? How to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Okay. I don't care if the world's on fire, right? You're not going to put the whole world out. So just
Right.
start in the corner of the world you live, grab a bucket of water and put that out. Okay. And if everybody did that, you'd put the world out. So do what you can. And always remember that you can figure it out. The answer exists. We know this.
Mhm. Mhm.
Across the arc of
Yeah.
human history, there is an answer and we can find it. And don't worry about how quick you get there. Just start.
It's one thing that you can do. I appreciate that. It's call to action. John, thank you so much for this conversation, sharing back on your journey and the lessons learned, and that there's one thing we can all do today. So thank you.
Thanks, Amy. It was fun.